In this video, we'll be taking a look at 3 college football games happening on September 30th, 2023, and providing you with free team picks and total picks for each one of those games. So 2 picks for each game, 6 picks in total. Welcome back to Cash Out Sports. Let's dive right into it. Oh, and don't forget to subscribe and to click the bell icon to get notified as soon as these videos get released, so that you have more time to plan out your bets as we provide these videos on a daily basis. I can guarantee that you'll have all the important information that you'll need on these 3 college football games after fully watching this video. One more thing before we start. If you would like to gain access to our best exclusive sports picks to take your journey to the next level, then check out our Patreon in the link down below, where we offer our best single picks, parlay picks, and much more. Now let's get started. Michigan versus Nebraska. The Michigan Wolverines will take on the Nebraska Cornhuskers in a critical Big Ten matchup. The game will take place on Saturday at Lincoln Memorial Stadium. Michigan is technically third in the East Division of the Big Ten due to Penn State's 2-0 conference record, but they are the number 2 team in the country with a 4-0 record. Meanwhile, Nebraska has a 0-1 conference record and a 2-2 record overall, placing them only above Purdue in the West Division of the Big Ten. This will be Michigan's toughest test so far this season. They will have to rely on McCarthy more in this game due to Nebraska's prolific run defense, but this will help Michigan gain a more balanced attack in the future. Eventually, Nebraska's defense will get tired due to the limited amount of time their offense will be on the field, and it will lead to Nebraska giving up more points. This will probably play out like each of Michigan's first 4 games. The Wolverines will start slow, and it may appear as if they're going to be on upset alert. Then, they'll gradually overwhelm their opponent, this time Nebraska, and take a comfortable 3-possession or more lead into the 4th quarter. This week it'll be the improved passing game, carried by J.J. McCarthy's nearly 80% completion rate. That picks apart a weak Nebraska pass defense. Speaking of defenses, Michigan has only allowed 23 total points after 4 games. None of those games were shutouts. The Wolverines just don't blink on that end, which won't end well for a Nebraska team banged up at quarterback. The Huskers won't be able to run amok on Michigan as they have the past few weeks, so someone will need to deliver through the air. It won't happen, so Nebraska will be another team that fails to hit double digits against the Wolverines. Considering Michigan has scored 30+ and have given up less than 10 points each game, I feel good about Michigan. When this game is over, expect Michigan to be up by more than 17 points, so the Michigan Wolverines to win and cover the spread as favorites is our full game side pick. This may be tight, but the game will probably be like every other Michigan game. The Wolverines shouldn't have any issues on defense stopping Nebraska. The Huskers only scored 24 total points in their first 2 games against Power 5 foes. Neither of those teams are near Michigan, who have the nation's top scoring defense. Nebraska also has 2 questionable options at quarterback, so if the running game isn't working, it'll be a long day. As for the Wolverines' offense, they should have success throwing the ball. Still, this is an offense that hasn't blown any team out of the water. They're taking on a Nebraska defense that is strong against the run and capable of slowing down that aspect of the game. Both teams favor the run game and rank top 20 in run play percentage. There is projected to be 18 to 23 miles per hour winds with up to 33 miles per hour gusts during game time. Michigan has had some absurdly similar score lines through 4 weeks: 31-7. 31-6, 35-7, 30-3. The offense is well-rounded, led by Heisman-caliber quarterback J.J. McCarthy and R.B. Blake Corum, who are responsible for 8 touchdowns each. The Wolverines have a habit of controlling the pace of games in the best way possible. They've won each game by 3+ possessions despite ranking 126th out of 133 in plays run per game. The defense has also been incredible, ranking 3rd in total defense, allowing just 231 yards per game. Matt Rule's Cornhuskers run the ball at a 67.2% rate and average a solid 5.5 yards per carry. I don't have a ton of faith in quarterback Heinrich Haarberg through the air, as he's more of a threat with his legs, but regardless, I believe Nebraska will struggle to find the end zone against Michigan's 12th-ranked rushing defense. Nebraska's defense will be stifling in the opening quarters of the game due to the intensity and adrenaline of the match. A battle in the trenches will ensue, and points will become increasingly more valuable as time goes on. I expect Michigan to eventually cruise to a large lead lead after the defense of Nebraska gets tired, but it will be too late to score a lot by then. I still trust Michigan's defense to hold Nebraska to less than 10 points, especially with both Nebraska's quarterbacks listed as questionable for the upcoming game. Additionally, I think Michigan will score less than 30 points for the first time all season as they adjust to a different style of offense that will rely on the pass in the early stages of the game. If Michigan starts slow again, they definitely won't be breaking this total by themselves. While you would expect me to pick the over for a team that scores 30+ each game in the Wolverines, I suspect they will have a tougher challenge than they have all season long. This is a rather low total for college football standards, but with good reason. Expect another game that ends in a 30-7 at most type final score. It'll be close, but it'll stay below the set total, with the win playing a factor in a matchup between two slow-paced, run-first teams. Under the projected total is our full game total pick. Georgia versus Auburn. Southeastern Conference football is on national television when the #1 Georgia Bulldogs travel to take on the Auburn Tigers. Georgia just handled UAB, beating the Blazers 49-21 at home, but did not cover the massive 40-point spread. Auburn just lost their Southeastern Conference opener in Texas Agricultural and Mechanical, going down 27-10 as 9.5-point underdogs. These teams met last season with Georgia winning 42-10 at home. Georgia is still the undefeated, two-time national champion, yet some people are trying to write them off already. The Bulldogs average 496.5 yards and 39 points per game, while their defense still allows only 282.3 yards and 11 points per game. They played around with South Carolina in the first half, but then scored 21 unanswered points in the second half to win the game. I think Georgia has the old New England Patriots philosophy that the scores don't matter, just get to the playoffs and win. Auburn is coming off a 27-10 loss to the Texas Aggies backup quarterback, and that Aggies team is not nearly as good as Georgia statistically. I don't think the question is whether Georgia will win the game, but how much they win by. Georgia, despite its dominance, is 2-6-1 against the spread in its last 9 games. The Bulldogs have been winning games but not covering spreads against teams who are not on their level. They are 0-3-1 against the spread this year, but have not had a spread of less than 26.5 points all season. Auburn has also not been covering and is 1-3 against the spread and 1-9 against the spread in the last 10 games in September. The Bulldogs have dominated Auburn over the years and are 6-0 straight up and against the spread in their last 6 games against them. This is the lowest spread Georgia has seen this season and could be the lowest they see given their remaining schedule. Unfortunately for the Tigers, Georgia may have had its letdown game a few weeks ago against South Carolina. The Bulldogs trailed briefly in that game before rallying to victory. What the Gamecocks do well, however, is not a skill set of the Tigers. South Carolina was able to challenge the Bulldogs through the air, but the Tigers, regardless of who is at quarterback, do not have the type of talent to beat Georgia through the air. Instead, they will try to run the ball against the nation's 7th-ranked run defense and likely face the reality of a number of third and long situations. Those situations will play right into the hands of the opportunistic and aggressive Georgia defense. On the other side of the ball, Georgia's 12th-ranked passing attack will carve up an Auburn secondary that is ranked just 84th in the nation against the pass. After the Aggies quarterback Wegman left the game with an injury, healthy backup Johnson was able to exploit the Tigers down the field. I expect that to happen early and often here as well, with Georgia quarterback Beck utilizing a team full of skilled players. Georgia has not been covering spreads this season, but this is the week they make their statement. Georgia has played down to their competition. They know they only need an 80% effort to defeat Ball State. Even South Carolina is not one of the stronger Southeastern Conference teams. Georgia is the better team here. They have 10 players listed on PFF's top 150 draft board, while Auburn only has 2. Brock Bowers is a mismatch all over the field for Georgia. He will blow past their linebackers and overpower the secondary. Auburn has been struggling to score and now play a Georgia defense that is littered with future pros. I know it's Georgia's first road game in conference, and the first conference game saw Georgia win by just 10 points against South Carolina, but Auburn's shown me nothing to this point, narrowly beating Cal and blowing out the likes of UMass and Samford before getting stomped out by the Texas Aggies last week. I think Jordan Hare will be rocking for this game, but I'm not sure it matters. Auburn won't be able to keep up as Georgia finally brings their game to the CBS 3:30 Southeastern Conference game of the week. Good teams win, great teams cover, so the Georgia Bulldogs to win and cover the spread as favorites is our full game side pick. Georgia quarterback Carson Beck is not at the level of Stetson Bennett from last season yet. Beck is still figuring out the offense. Georgia is winning games, but not putting up gaudy numbers offensively. Georgia has gone under the total in 3 out of their 4 games this season. Georgia's strength is up front. Both their offensive and defensive lines have great size and can wear down an opponent. Auburn has also gone under the total in 3 of 4 games. Coach Freeze acknowledged that his offense is struggling and that their strength is on the defensive end. This total has dropped by half a point after opening at 47, and for good reason. The Tigers will not be able to score against the stout Bulldogs' defense. Georgia's prowess against the run will force Auburn to try to move the ball through the air, and this team isn't equipped to do that as currently constituted. After being held to just 3 points against the Aggies, scoring their lone touchdown on a defensive score, I can't foresee the Tigers doing any damage against an even better defense in the Bulldogs. All signs point to this being a game where Georgia is in control, but points are not coming easily. This should be a one-sided affair that will not get past the total. Under the projected total is our full game total pick. Kansas versus Texas. Week 5 of the 2023 college football season brings plenty of interesting matchups, including the Big 12 Conference battle at DKR Texas Memorial Stadium in Austin. Texas eyes its second straight victory over Kansas. Last year, the Longhorns trounced the Jayhawks 55-14 as 9-point road favorites. After the road win against Alabama, many people are saying that Texas is officially back. Don't get me wrong, it was an impressive win, but now the Longhorns must play error-free football through the gauntlet that is the Big 12. Kansas' offensive depth chart doesn't have a single underclassman. The offensive line features 2 seniors and 3 juniors, so I'm confident they'll hold up well enough against this vaunted Texas defense. The last time these teams met in Austin, the Jayhawks escaped with a stunning 57-56 overtime victory thanks to Jalon Daniels and Devin Neal's 8 combined touchdowns. This time around, Texas hopes to flip the script in what will be one of the few ranked matchups of the weekend. Both teams are a perfect 4-0 straight up and 2-2 against the spread through 4 weeks, as the Jayhawks come to town following a 38-27 home win over new conference foe Brigham Young University, while the Longhorns scored the same amount of points in its 32-point victory at Baylor last week. Texas' offense is as good as advertised this season, but its defense has been particularly impressive. Kansas has relied more heavily on the run this season than it did last season, keeping the ball on the ground on 60% of plays against Football Bowl subdivision opponents, with the 91st rated rush rate over expected per CFB graphs. Much of that has to do with the positive game script and 4 straight wins, but it is notable because the Longhorns are built to stop the run. They rank 5th in defensive success rate against the run with a top 15 mark in expected points added per rush and a top 25 grade in PFF's rush defense metric. Furthermore, the Longhorns have yielded just 9 explosive runs this season and allowed just 2.7 yards per carry thanks to a stout front 7 anchored by 2 of the 10 best run stoppers in the Big 12, T-Bonder Sweat and Jalen Ford. Because of their productive rushing attack, the Jayhawks have been very good on early downs. However, I believe their numbers are a bit inflated due to playing a strength of schedule that Sagarin rates outside the top 95. This matchup against Texas defense is a significant step up in class compared to who the Jayhawks have played to this point, as the Longhorns are 3rd nationally in opponent-adjusted efficiency with top 10 marks in unadjusted opposing drive efficiency, points per drive, and touchdown rate. I expect the Longhorns to control the line of scrimmage and limit the Jayhawks on early downs, forcing them into obvious passing situations on 3rd down, where Texas has thrived defensively. If the Jayhawks are unable to score efficiently, it could be a day for them considering Texas has one of the nation's best offenses. For what it is worth, the Jayhawks rank 106th in opponent-adjusted defensive efficiency while sitting outside the top 80 in unadjusted drive efficiency and touchdown rate allowed. I initially thought I was going to back Texas here, as I just hadn't been overly impressed with Kansas the last couple of weeks, and last year, when Kansas was actually playing well, they were demolished by the Longhorns. However, I think last year was just a Jayhawks team that was in over their heads at that point, but I look for Kansas to be a lot more focused this time around. Kansas had been a thorn in Texas' side even when they were at their worst, and I think at the absolute worst for Kansas, this is a 2-touchdown win for the Longhorns. There's really no reason that Texas shouldn't win on Saturday night, but I feel like 16.5 points is way too many to lay. I don't know if the Jayhawks can win outright, but they have the talent and experience to at least keep this game inside of a 2-touchdown margin. So the Kansas Jayhawks to cover the spread as underdogs is our full game side pick. The last 3 meetings between the Longhorns and the Jayhawks have been very high scoring, averaging 93 points per game. In fact, the winner has scored at least 50 points in each of those meetings. However, the Texas Longhorns has improved defensively. The Longhorns rank in the top 3 in adjusted efficiency and have a top 10 rating in points per opportunity allowed as well. Furthermore, the Longhorns have been very good against the run, as they even held Alabama to just 3.1 yards per attempt. The biggest concern when betting this under is Kansas defense. The Jayhawks are outside the top 105 in adjusted efficiency and have the second worst points per opportunity allowed nationally. However, Texas has been a bit more methodical than it has explosive through 4 games this season. The Longhorns are 45th in explosive plays and outside the top 20 in yards per play, while Quinn Ewers ranks 109th among qualified Football Bowl subdivision quarterbacks in average depth per target. When considering pace, neither team has been in a hurry offensively. The Jayhawks allow only 3.3 yards per carry, while the Longhorns surrender just 2.7 yards per rush. It's been hard to run the ball efficiently against these two teams so far this season. And if they continue to impress against rushing, we won't see a ton of points in this game. The total has gone over in 4 of the last 5 meetings between Kansas and Texas, but I will go against the head-to-head betting trend. I'm looking for another excellent performance by the Longhorns defense. The under is 4-1 in the Longhorns' last 5 games overall and 5-1 in their previous 6 outings at home. Under the projected total is our full game total pick. One more thing before we start. If you would like to gain access to our best exclusive sports picks to take your journey to the next level, then check out our Patreon in the link down below where we offer our best single picks, parlay picks, and much more. Now let's get started.